Fresh air, longer days, a chance to reset. This season, let therapy be part of your spring cleaning. Clearing mental clutter, shaking off stuckness, and building something better. Grow Therapy helps you get there. Whether it's your first time in therapy or your 15th, Grow makes it easier to find a therapist who fits you, not the other way around. They connect you with thousands of independent licensed therapists across the U.S., offering both virtual and in-person sessions, nights and weekends. You can search by what matters, like insurance, specialty, identity, or availability, and get started in as little as 2 days. And if something comes up, you can cancel up to 24 hours in advance at no cost. There are no subscriptions, no long-term commitments. You just pay per session. Grow helps you find therapy on your time. Whatever challenges you're facing, Grow Therapy is here to help. Grow accepts over 100 insurance plans, including Medicaid in some states. Sessions average about $21 with insurance, and some pay as little as $0 depending on their plan. Visit growtherapy.com/booknow to get started. That's growtherapy.com/booknow. growtherapy.com/booknow. Availability and coverage vary by state and insurance plan.
Hey listeners, this is Peter and welcome back to the History Shorts. Today's episode is brought to you by the Podcast Republic, your ultimate listening app. Discover and subscribe to thousands of podcasts from around the world. Download Podcast Republic today, available on Google Play and the Apple App Store. Today on History Shorts. In 1930, Al Capone was the most powerful criminal in America. He controlled Chicago's bootlegging, gambling, and prostitution operations. He had corrupted police, judges, and politicians at every level of city government. He had ordered murders, survived assassination attempts, and built an organization generating an estimated $60 million a year. That's roughly, in case you're wondering, $1 billion in today's money. He gave to charities, he opened soup kitchens during the Depression. He was, in the tabloid imagination of the era, simultaneously the most feared and most celebrated man in the country. And he was about to be brought down. Not by Eliot Ness, not by FBI. Nope, by some accountants. History Brief today returns to some little known presidential history. A quick word from our sponsors. This day in history. On May 2nd, 1945, Soviet forces captured Berlin, effectively ending World War II in Europe. On May 2nd, 2011, U.S. forces killed Osama bin Laden in a raid in Pakistan, bringing a symbolic end to the decade-long hunt following the September 11 attacks. Story of the day. Alphonse Gabriel Capone was born in Brooklyn in 1899, the son of Italian immigrants. He grew up in the streets of South Brooklyn, a world of immigrant poverty, neighborhood gangs, and the informal economies that flourished in the gaps of legitimate society. He was smart, physically imposing, and possessed of a natural authority that made people follow him. He dropped out of school at 14. By his early 20s, he was working for Johnny Torrio, one of the most sophisticated criminal organizers in all of New York City. And he had acquired a facial scar from a Brooklyn bar fight that would give him his most famous nickname, Scarface. Capone hated the nickname, by the way. He preferred to be called Al Brown or simply Mr. Capone. When Prohibition arrived in 1920, the federal ban on the manufacture and sale of alcohol that would define the entire decade of American life, it created the single greatest business opportunity in the history of American organized crime. Capone followed Torrio to Chicago in 1921. Within a few years, he had effectively taken over the operation. Chicago in 1920s was Capone's city in a way that is difficult to fully convey today. He operated openly. He attended the opera. He sat at ringside at boxing matches. He was recognized and cheered at baseball games. The mayor of Chicago, the police commissioner, and hundreds of individual officers were all on his payroll. When journalists asked him about his business, he described himself as a businessman supplying a product the public wanted. He was not entirely wrong. Prohibition had made criminals of millions of ordinary Americans who simply wanted a drink, and had made wealthy men of those willing to supply them. Capone's empire was built on that contradiction, the gap between what the law said and what the public actually did. Violence was part of the business. The St. Valentine's Day Massacre of 1929, in which seven members of the rival gang were machine gunned in a Chicago garage, bore the hallmarks of Capone's organization, though he was never charged. But it was the business itself that made him powerful, not the violence alone. The federal government had been trying to find a way to prosecute Capone for years. The problem was structural. Capone did not personally pull any of the triggers. He did not personally sign contracts or open bank accounts in his own name. Every transaction that could be traced to him was insulated by layers of intermediaries, bookkeepers, lawyers, and associates who absorbed legal exposure so that Capone remained untouchable. Eliot Ness and his team of agents, the Untouchables, so called because of their resistance to bribery, were real, and their work, dismantling Capone's breweries, was genuine and important. But the Ness legend, burnished by the 1957 memoir and a popular television series, has consistently overstated his role in Capone's actual downfall. Ness never built a case that would have put Capone in prison. The men who built that case were accountants. The IRS investigation into Capone's finances began in earnest in the 1930s, led by a team of special agents that included Frank Wilson, one of the most tenacious financial investigators in federal history. Wilson's theory back in 1930 was quite straightforward. Capone lived like a king. The Palm Island mansion in Florida, the custom suits, the diamonds, the lavish entourage. All of that spending required income, and income under American law was taxable, regardless of whether it came from legal or illegal sources. If Capone had received income and not paid taxes on it, he had committed a federal crime. The challenge was proving it in a world where Capone operated entirely in cash, used no bank accounts in his own name, and had surrounded himself with people who would not testify against him. Wilson spent months going through handwritten ledgers seized from Capone's own gambling operations, tens of thousands of pages of figures, coded entries, and partial records. He found the thread he needed: payments that were traceable through a chain of documentation to Capone personally. Income was received, but taxes were not paid. Capone was indicted on federal tax evasion charges in June of 1931. He had reason to believe that he could manage the outcome. His organization had a long history of managing legal outcomes in Chicago, after all. What he did not anticipate was that the jury panel for his trial had been switched at the last minute, after evidence emerged that Capone's men had been bribing and intimidating the originally selected jurors. The judge made the switch the morning the trial began. Capone's carefully cultivated jury was quickly replaced with strangers that his organization had not yet reached. The trial lasted less than 2 weeks. On October 17th, 1931, Al Capone was convicted on 5 counts of tax evasion. He was sentenced to 11 years in federal prison. At the time, one of the longest sentences ever handed down for tax evasion. He also owed the government $215,000 in back taxes and penalties. Capone served time at Atlanta Federal Penitentiary and then famously at Alcatraz, which opened in 1934 and to which he was transferred partly because his money and influence had made him too comfortable in Atlanta. Alcatraz was designed to be different. It largely was. By the time Capone was released in 1939, his sentence reduced for good behavior, syphilis had advanced to the point that his mental faculties were severely diminished. The man who had run Chicago was now confused, erratic, and largely unable to function as a criminal or really as anything else. He retired to his Palm Island mansion in Florida. He died there in January of 1947 of cardiac arrest at the age of only 48 years old. The History Brief. The following comes to us from Cormac O'Brien's Secret Lives of the U.S. Presidents. President Franklin Pierce struggled with alcoholism all his life. His years as a senator had been darkened by rumors of excessive drinking. Opponents called him hero of many a well-fought battle. He did manage to fight the battle successfully on occasion, and even joined the Temperance League in Concord, New Hampshire, after leaving the Senate to practice law. He seemed not to have had a drinking problem while serving as an officer in the Mexican War either. But then he was elected president, and his son's head was crushed in a train accident, and his marriage fell apart, and he was surrounded by congressmen who left their spouses back home and loved to get together and act like frat boys. So, Franklin Pierce started drinking again, relying on this stuff to carry him through 4 years of strife, suspicion, loneliness, bloodshed, and criticism. It only got worse once he left the White House. By 1869, alcohol had gotten the better of him, and he died of stomach inflammation. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today and helping make this little show such a mighty success. If you are enjoying this show and would like to help with its production, you can always donate a few dollars at buymeacoffee.com or become a patron member to enjoy these episodes ad-free. Both of those links can be found on our website at www.historyshortspodcast.com. I also hope you guys check out our YouTube channel where we have different series that are not part of this stream. Have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you all again tomorrow.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.